questions. I can talk some about some of Hannah, the director, and writer's intentions as well. I've done enough Q&As with her to kind of field any questions you have about that, but as well I can talk about
So basically, how did the two of you get connected and find each other?
The internet, actually. She was using some photos of mine to make a lookbook for a short she was going to shoot, and then just ended up reaching out and asking if I wanted to shoot it. And, I like the lookbook. I mean, the other things she assembled were all within the vein of things that I like to shoot. And, so we hit it off with that short, and it went to South by. It's called The Gathering Squall. And then I was involved with this film from the script process, which was really great to like be involved and know what's going on that early. And I think we'll continue to work together past this film. And she was a 25 Days last year. I don't know if you,
yes, you played together as well for last year.
Yeah, and, as well as the producer, Kim Sherman.
That was so beautifully shot.
Thank you.
Yeah. So can you just talk about how you came up with the look and what took the two of you?
Sure. Yeah. She. It kind of depends. I work with directors in different ways. I try to be reflexive to the way they like to work. Hannah and I have sort of developed a thing that I think is likely how a lot of DPs and directors work, but who knows? You don't often get into closed door meetings, but she sends me the script. I typically send stuff back immediately and thinking about this film, I'm thinking about this film. I compile photographs, I screen cap every movie I watch extensively. I just sit there and hit spacebar on stuff that I like. And so then I have this library of movies, and then I'm able to so when after I read the script, I pull all these stills and send them, and she'll say, I like that, I don't like that, I like the lighting of this, I like the mood of this. So we kind of get a look down, and then as far as the moves, it's often at this level dictated by budget, what you can do with the camera. Obviously, we all would love to do a lot more things with the camera, but fortunately for this, I was able to do quite a bit. I had a friend who had a Steadicam rig, and wanted to work cheaply, so he just got it and wants to get out there, so that was really nice. Otherwise, the big thing for this was getting inside her head. I don't know if it was expected for you guys, but every frame she's dead center. She's the focus always, and I never really tired of looking at her, which was nice. I think she's beautiful to photograph. She's such a lovely face. So I think, yeah, I think that's a good question.
I can't help it, I have to say that was beautiful cinematography as well, and you said not to pay attention to it, but how could you not? It was beautiful. I was curious about the casting process. I gather that Will was an Austin hire, and I think Lindsay's a New York actress, and they had awesome chemistry physically and otherwise, and I was just sort of curious about the process for casting, and how did Hannah know that they would have such good chemistry? Did they do a chemistry read together? How did it all go down?
Yeah,
and did they workshop some stuff and
well, so Hannah wrote the script with Lindsay in mind. She had been in something of Hannah's before. She wrote it for Hannah, Hannah wrote it for Lindsay, and so she was involved heavily in the script writing process. As far as Will's concerned, he auditioned with Lindsay, and he was the only boy. There were quite a few. It was in Austin. He was in college. He was 21, I think, when we made this, and he kissed her in the audition, which was pretty bold. And I think everyone, from my understanding, Hannah and Lindsay were like, that's kind of crazy. He did that, and they liked that. I think they liked that he had that energy.
He's lucky that they like that.
Yeah, and they also said something really, it's kind of weird.
Some people would freak
totally.
out. Yeah.
But I think there was something, but they said something really funny too the other day in a Q&A that I hadn't heard yet, that they said he smelled like high school. I was like, what the heck does that mean? And then Will chimed in, he was like, oh, well that's cheap cologne and cigarettes. He's totally knew exactly, that's his scent, I guess. But it was really funny that whatever, he just brought him back. And he drives a camouflage truck. Like, he's just like the weirdest. He's a weird dude. And I'm just like, I don't know. And he totally fit the part in a way. But
The cutaways of her running, whose idea was that? And, you know, did you have it in mind to use to break up certain portions of the film and kind of give emotion to a certain extent?
yeah, so those were scripted. I think in the script it dictated even the closeness. I think she had it in her mind early on that we would get closer and closer and closer to her. And you kind of, I don't know if you noticed that in the film, we also get looser with the camera work. It never is handheld for the first like 3/4. I never ever have it on my shoulder. So for the running stuff, I kept getting closer and closer, but then she actually flipped that. I think in the first shot is one of our closer ones, we might think. I'm not positive, having not seen it in a while, but it was at script level. That it was just like, you know, she's working up steam, and yeah, and it was chaptered sort of.
Well, it was awesome, and I wanted to ask you about. I mean, using light is always so important with cinematography and natural light, different things. But I feel like you used darkness really well in this film, and like the darkness helped keep that intensity up for me because I was constantly like searching for what was happening. Could you talk about that? I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a big thing for me as a DP, and I don't think it's very. I can't speak for other people, but I think DPs use too much light most often, and I think for a film like this, it needs to be dark, and it's sexier when it's darker. It's, you know, the things that are in the shadows, and I love to watch subjects walk through dark pools of light. You lose them, and they come back out, and like, to me, it feels more real. I think at times, I mean, it was an experiment in some ways too, because some of these scenes I was lighting with a single practical, and I'm really particular about which practical lamps are going to light a scene. It's got to be the exact lamp. It's got to have the right wattage, or then we're totally screwed. But thank you. I mean, it was definitely a conscious thing to try to be dark, and how dark can we go, and what's too dark? Can we, you know? And sometimes it's scary because you're like not getting a reading on meters, or your levels don't look right. But it's like, yeah, but it looks pretty cool, you know. So you just kind of hope that it works out. So, but I think it definitely makes it feel creepier and darker as she sort of descends into her madness. I fortunately shot a horror movie before this, so I kind of, but we lit that pretty extensively.
Did you shoot many takes, and did you shoot much coverage? Because there also were several scenes that all just played out really nicely.
Yeah, we shot more coverage than you would think. They didn't use so much. I kind of always try to imagine my coverage as masters. Like, I don't like to just pick up little stuff. It feels too storybooky to me. I like to imagine that whatever I'm shooting is the shot. So if they decide to use one shot, this, you know, and sometimes it screws me. I mean, there's a few shots in there, and I'm like, oh man, come on, like, you should have picked a better take, or like, could you please cut away, like when I miss something, like a character putting something down, I just totally missed the shot or something. But I don't think most people notice that. And what was the other part to that coverage?
Many takes?
They did run quite a few takes a lot of time. Yeah. Not always, though. We were really lean, really lean, very, very small crew, small production, not a lot of time, so not a whole lot, but.
To that end, will you talk about the final love-making scene between the two of them, where it's all up close and you can't tell what's going on at all? Like, tell us about what was happening on your end in that scene.
And did you also shoot that wide, like, or did you just say this is what it's going to be?
Yeah, we shot that close, all handheld, in a very tiny room, myself and the sound guy and the two actors. And they were totally just going at it, you know. And, you know, there's scenes sometimes, I think we have experienced this, but sometimes there's an electricity in the room and you can really feel it. And after every take, I think the sound guy and I just look at each other, just like, whoa, like, because they were really fighting. They were going at it. And he'd really push her, and she'd really like hit the wall or something. I was like, oh, you know, really worried for what they were up to. But it was amazing because I knew I was getting great stuff, and I wanted to encourage them to keep going. Also in my mind in that scene, Will had a clause in his contract to not show nudity. So he was fully naked, she was fully naked, and I had to like always just look at the monitor intensely and make sure I couldn't see his butt or anything else. So that was like, getting close and close, as close as I could was actually helpful, but it was also really weird because you're just in a bed with two naked people and you're like, hey guys, like, you feel, I mean, they're basically getting it on and I'm like just hanging out. So, the frenzy, you know, it's really tough because the camera's huge and I need to like track and, but I think that's one of my favorite scenes in the film. I think even photographically, I really like the way that scene looks. It's just really eerie. I like the scene where she like wipes the semen off of her dress. The way that's lit, is, like my favorite, I think, in the film. But
Did you operate yourself?
everything, unfortunately. Very, very small crew again. I operated, I lit, I held focus. It was the one-man band a lot of times. I've fired our gaffer in the middle of it, sort of. He was like a huge jerk, and like, so, yeah, we were just better without. But,
So you were the camera department? That like there was
yeah, I had an AC, but then she kept casting our crew. It's like we couldn't get people to come to the dance, so she'd be like, "All right, well, your PA and your AC, they're gonna be in the movie." And I'm like, "All right, whatever." You know, I gotta do all this lighting, and it's like this is my biggest setup, and I'm losing everybody. But it's just that's just how we work. You know, it's cheap movies. You gotta do what you gotta do. But. And my girlfriend at the time was in the film as well, so it's just kind of funny. Like everyone just starts piling in. So it takes a village to raise a movie.
My comments about the script. This subject matter has been covered like crazy in the newspapers and TV movies and the outreach in particular. So when I read the summary, I thought, oh gee, here we go again, same old, same old. But the three of us were sitting here all totally engrossed the whole time. This woman is so excited. We were totally fished into it the whole time. And the minimalism of her script was just incredible. And she didn't do anything predictable. So I really want to compliment her.
Yeah, it's great.
Like, where'd she come up with it?
Sure, I'd be happy to talk to you. She of course did a lot of case study research. She and Lindsay looked at various cases. They knew, I think, pretty early on that they didn't want to see the way it developed, which I think is pretty smart. I like leaving that in the subtext or something. But she does. Audiences have it's about 50-50. People sometimes don't like that treatment at all. They want to know more. They want so much more. And you know, the first question is like, well, what happened? What happened? You know, how did they meet? And they like want to ask you all these things that aren't on screen. And it's tough sometimes to feel, I think, for her. She was, well, you know, I think I expressed what I want to express. It's up there. But you know, then they keep prodding her and keep prodding. So it's interesting. But a lot of people, and I appreciate that, really did like it in that way, and I like it that way as well. It's like I prefer films that you're dropped into the world. You don't get to see the development. And
Well, you know from the get-go it's going to end horribly.
Exactly.
It's just a matter of
Yeah.
which incarnation it's going to take. And
Sure.
I love the recording of the voicemail messages at the end, for your principal, and Michael would come in. That was it. It was just,
Yeah.
it was cool. That was just super.
Yeah, I think she really just wanted us to I know it was her goal in some ways to just try to get us to sympathize with this person. She, the idea is germination. I think I'm not going to forget anything about it, but she was working in a restaurant, and a young boy, a teenager, came in a leather jacket, and she was like, "Whoa!" And was like really sexually attracted to this boy. And she was like, "This is a weird feeling. I got to do something with this." And didn't talk to him, of course, didn't anything, but she just felt really awkward about it, and I don't think this boy knows how much he has shaped Hannah's life, and that was sort of germination for a story, but she was just like, I gotta do something with this is bizarre. And she kind of started dreaming up how it may happen.
I didn't read about this film before, and I guess I expected that the young man would be the liability in this relationship. Right? So that seems to be how these things go wrong. Is the kid blows it. And I've definitely felt like in your decisions how she was getting, I was getting more lost with her and crazy with her. But I would imagine you were. I felt like he became more stable through the film. And did you acknowledge that in the way you were photographing him, or was that something you kept in your mind?
I wish I could say yes. I didn't though. I think my focus at that point was her, and that's maybe a misstep on my part. But now that I think about it, but yeah, he does feel more controlled by the end. You're right. I think you're right in that feeling, and you know, he's the one looking at her like, "Aren't you worried?
Yeah.
Are you concerned?" Like, but I don't think I changed the way I photographed him. Although I did start getting lower a little bit with him, which had sort of a hero effect, but like lower looking up at him. But that wasn't very. I didn't think about that. I don't know why I started doing it, but I wish I could say I thought about it and could take credit. But
Totally, it was worked. It was awesome.
I'm pro honesty in Q&As.
So we do one more question.
I really enjoyed the film, and I just wanted to comment on the scenery of that film, the way they filmed Texas, the different scenes about it in the background, beside what was actually going on. That other character was the scenery, the landscape, the buildings, all that kind of stuff was filmed excellently, and the lighting, all that.
Thank you.
Was really spot on.
Thank you. Yeah, I think Texas has been photographed. We actually have a Texan in the room. Texas has been photographed so much and so beautifully, and it's always so orange and beautiful and lush and alive. And if you go there, I mean, not that the winter looks terrible there, but it can look a little scary. Some of the trees are kind of intense looking, and I just started seeing that there's a real grayness that we could bring out that I didn't feel like I had seen, which sort of interested me, because it could have very easily just been beautiful and then but we wanted the movie to feel oppressive, and not in a bad way, but just really feel like a pressure cooker. And if it was just like butterflies flying around, it would be a different story.
I think that was evident, was like the mesquite trees or something that you could see all them, without the leaves, and it kind of was ominous feeling.
Great. I'm glad you picked up on that. Yeah.
I'm gonna ask another question.
Go for it.
If you were involved in the edit at all,
Yeah.
and whether you were or weren't, I'm just interested because
Mhm.
you're the DP, and
Mhm.
then here's this thing that you were a big part of, and
Yeah. Just like what I might say about the edit, or
I mean, not like critiquing the edit, but you saw it through your, through the lens as you shot it, and then they used your images.
yeah. Well, it's interesting. So I direct also, and I really enjoy DPing because I can not do all the other things for once. When you're, as you know, directing, you're a one-man event. You run it from the beginning to the end, and you're responsible for everything. In the end, it's on you. And I've always, when I DP, I love it because I can just let go and I can just feel the imagery, focus on the imagery. But to your question, there's a few things in that I shot that I wish would have been included, but that's how it always is, I find. I think for the most part they used my best takes, as far as I know. I did some really weird stuff that didn't make it in that I would have been curious to see. There was a couple glimpses of it where they pass in the hallway. They're like there's two Steadicam shots. I started doing this stuff midway through production that I was doing stuff with lights where it was a dance. So like there's a shot of him and she's dreaming of him. It's this really flared out shot that's a push and he's just looking right into the lens. I started doing this thing where I was bringing lights up in shots. So it was like a swell. And so in that hallway shot, it starts completely dark and the lights flicker on down the hallway like to her. And then when he comes in, another one just goes, I don't know why they didn't use it. I think maybe it wasn't as real, perhaps. We never talked about it, but I was always kind of into those. But put them in my pocket and save it for something else.
What about the color correct? I know some DPs feel like their work, they lose control because the color correct people do so much.
Yeah, he's asking about color correction. I like the color correction in this film. I think it's beautiful. I think they did a great job. I've done other movies that I haven't liked, but I think this is how I would have done it. In color correction, for those who don't know, I just heard, is how you make the image once you shoot it, it's not finished. You isolate certain areas, you desaturate certain colors, you bring up certain colors, you maybe make a wall that was too darker. But I thought this film was done very nicely. It was done by a place in New York. I didn't have any part of it. They couldn't afford to fly me out. Typically, I like to be there.
Yeah.
I've been involved in other ones, and yeah, it can be weird, but that's also kind of just part of the fun. It's not your thing, you know. It's for someone else, and you got to react for the other person. You know. Thanks so much for coming out. And thanks for
Thank you.
questions.
And one on